Have you ever heard stories about a great flood that wiped the world clean, leaving only a handful of survivors to start anew? It's a tale that echoes through countless ancient cultures, but one of the most famous versions comes from the book of Genesis. It's the story of Noah, a man chosen for an incredible, world-changing task. So, who was Noah? The Bible describes him as a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, who walked faithfully with God. This was a big deal because the world had become a pretty chaotic place. The story tells us that humanity had strayed far from its intended path, filling the earth with corruption and violence. Seeing this, God was deeply saddened. So much so that he decided to press the reset button on creation. But because of Noah's goodness, God decided to spare him and his family. He gave Noah a set of very specific and probably very strange-sounding instructions. God told him, "Build yourself an ark of cypress wood, make rooms in it, and coat it with pitch, inside and out." An ark? Imagine getting that command. We're not talking about a little rowboat here. The dimensions God gave were colossal. 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. In modern terms, that's roughly 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. That's a massive 3-story vessel, longer than a football field. Think about the sheer scale of this project. Noah and his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, had to become shipbuilders overnight. They didn't have power tools or modern construction equipment. This was a monumental task of faith and manual labor. While they toiled away, cutting, shaping, and sealing the wood, people around them likely watched with confusion, maybe even mockery. Here was this man, building a gigantic boat in the middle of dry land, talking about a flood that had never been seen before. It must have taken immense courage and conviction for Noah to keep going, day after day, year after year, trusting in the promise he had received. But the instructions didn't stop with the ark's construction. God then gave Noah an even more incredible command. He was to bring his wife, his sons, and their wives into the ark. And then came the part that would turn his ark into a floating zoo. He was to bring aboard 2 of every kind of living creature, a male and a female, to keep them alive. For the clean animals, the ones suitable for sacrifices, he was to bring 7 pairs of each. Can you even begin to imagine the logistics of that? Gathering animals from all corners of the world: lions, tigers, bears, elephants, tiny insects, soaring eagles. It was a divine mission to preserve all life on earth. Once Noah, his family, and the incredible menagerie of animals were safely inside, the door of the ark was shut. Then, the prophecy began to unfold. For 40 days and 40 nights, the heavens opened up, and rain poured down relentlessly. But it wasn't just rain. The Bible says the springs of the great deep burst forth, meaning water also came up from the ground. It was a global cataclysm unlike anything ever witnessed. The water rose higher and higher, covering the hills and then the highest mountains. Everything on dry land, every living thing that wasn't on the ark, perished in the floodwaters. Inside their floating sanctuary, Noah and his family were safe, bobbing on the surface of a worldwide ocean. For 150 days, the waters covered the earth. Imagine the feeling inside that ark, the constant rocking, the sounds and smells of all those animals. The darkness broken only by the single window God had instructed Noah to build. It was a long, isolating period of waiting and trusting. They had no way of knowing what was happening outside, only that they were being protected. Finally, the waters began to recede. God sent a wind to blow over the earth, and gradually, the flood subsided. The ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Still, they couldn't just open the door and walk out. The world was still a watery landscape. Noah was patient. He first sent out a raven, which flew back and forth until the water had dried up. Then, he sent out a dove. The first time, it returned, unable to find a place to land. A week later, he sent it out again. This time, it came back in the evening with a freshly plucked olive leaf in its beak. This was the sign they had been waiting for, a symbol of new life, and that the land was beginning to heal. This image of a dove with an olive branch remains a universal symbol of peace and hope to this day. After sending the dove out one more time, and it not returning, Noah knew it was safe. He removed the covering of the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. Following God's command, Noah, his family, and all the animals finally emerged from the ark. They stepped out into a brand new world, cleansed and silent. The first thing Noah did was build an altar and give thanks to God for their deliverance. In response to Noah's faith and gratitude, God made a covenant, a sacred promise, not just to Noah, but to all of humanity and every living creature for all generations to come. He promised that he would never again destroy all life with the waters of a flood. And as a sign of this everlasting covenant, he set a rainbow in the clouds. So now, every time we see a rainbow arching across the sky after a storm, it's a beautiful reminder of that ancient promise of hope, renewal, and a fresh start. The story of Noah is more than just a tale about a big boat and a lot of animals. It's a profound story about faith in the face of ridicule, about obedience when the commands seem impossible, and about hope in the midst of total devastation. It speaks to the idea that even in the darkest of times, there is a path to survival and renewal. It's a story of a second chance for humanity and for the world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more incredible tales from history and mythology, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us bring more stories like this to you. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious.